And thank you all for hanging out through this marketing hurricane of today too. Michelle, I will let you introduce yourself. What I do know from having spoken to her and researched her, that she is an enormously visionary, talented CMO, and she is taking ETS on a fantastic journey right now, which we're going to discuss. But Michelle, tell us who you are.
Thanks, I will. It's so nice to see the brand innovator community, always. I know, right? Nice job. In Danone, which I've never been in, even though, my gosh, it's like in my backyard. I just live over in Rye, so this is amazing. So I'm Michelle Froah, and I've been the Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer globally for about a year and a half now at ETS. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that and our journey in a little bit. But I've been part of Brand Innovators for, gosh, I don't even know, like maybe 8 or 9 years. I'm very privileged to be on the advisory board here, and it's always a great community to be part of, and so I'm really glad to see all of you here. But I do have a question, just so we know our audience real quick. How many people are from Danone out in the audience? Is it like overwhelming? Oh gosh, only a few. So other industries? What other industries? Media? Market research? Data? Branding? Okay. All right. So very, very topical.
Church.
Very topical. Okay.
Okay, so the transformative rebranding is the theme of this. Now, I guess we should start at the beginning. It feels like the natural place to start. A rebrand is a hugely major decision for a company to make, especially a company like ETS, which has been in existence for 75 years, carries a lot of weight and a lot of history behind it. So a rebrand equally is not a panacea. It is not a cure-all for a business or brand's ills. So in this instance, what provoked you to decide to take that risk and start that journey? What was standing out clear as day to you that needed that kind of rebrand?
Well, honestly, it was the fact that our business needed to be transformed. And so you're right, 75 years, ETS historically has been in the education testing category. That's what ETS stands for, Educational Testing Services. And, you know, that's a very crowded category in the sense that there's a lot of players there, but it's also, you know, I would say a little bit a smaller impact. No, it's not smaller impact, it has a huge impact, but a smaller portion maybe of your life as a lifelong learner, right? And so what we needed to do was think about how we transform our business to have a broader impact. And if you think about your careers, you know, does anyone constantly learn, or have you stopped learning since you got out of school? Yeah, learning right now, that's right. And so, you know, as you think about your life, and constant upskilling, reskilling, all of those things, especially in the workforce, we wanted to move from just playing in educational testing to a new category of future readiness and enabling people to thrive and adapt to this ever-changing world. And so that was really the impetus for the brand transformation. You have a business transformation, which leads to a brand transformation, which then invariably has to lead to an innovation transformation. But to demonstrate that, we thought we would show you a video just so you can kind of see that transformation that we were on. Oh no.
In an age where change is the only constant, how do you assess the talent of tomorrow? For 75 years, ETS has been the world's leading assessment company. Today, we usher in a new era of human progress. We're elevating our groundbreaking research from the footnotes to be the source that builds the new benchmarks for education and talent solutions worldwide. More than ever, we're committed to measuring progress to power humanity, promoting skill proficiency, upward mobility, and opportunities for all. Tomorrow's assessments will not only show what people know, but measure skills that deeply define the individual, who they are, how they learn, and who they have the potential to become. For every student, professor, and institution navigating education, we are the compass that guides. For every candidate and employer seeking their stars, we are the constellation that connects the dots. And for every government, association, and organization looking to power the talent of tomorrow, we are the engine that drives them forward. With you, ETS stands committed to advancing the science of measurement, so that together, we can realize the future of human progress.
I think it deserves a round of applause. I think it's always really telling when you see videos like that you can almost pull out the exact words and feelings it makes you think, and it's, you know, dynamic, modern, trustworthy, inclusive, you know, all of those things just really, really come across from that. And I suppose that was in part your goal in doing this. What goal were you setting for yourself when you started out on this journey? What were you aiming for? What did you want this to transform for you and for people that work with you?
Well, I think the biggest thing was, you know, we wanted to have a bigger impact in the world, right? And so we're a nonprofit, and, you know, we have a mission. I've worked for a lot of companies that have, as I'm sure you all have as well, that have deep purposes. But when you work with a company that actually has a mission, and the people that are driven to make that mission come true, it's really about the impact, right? The societal impact that you can have. And that's really the emotion, I think, you know, behind this journey of a business transformation to stay relevant. But that brand promise that you heard in there, advancing the science of measurement to power human progress, really has two pieces to it. You know, there's what we do. Our expertise is in the science of measurement, so that we have fair, equitable, valid assessments that help with the outcomes that people need. But we do it because we want to power human progress. And what that impact looks like to us is like three areas. On an individual level, we want people to have greater skill proficiency and be able to demonstrate that. On a many level, we want to empower upward mobility, and that might mean globally, socially, economically. And on a for all effort, you know, we want to unlock opportunities for all everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, branding becomes, in some ways, harder when you really believe and are so passionate about the impact you're trying to create, but it makes it all the more satisfying when you get it right and you see that brand translate into real-world action. So you've decided to rebrand at this point. What are the first steps you take? Because it is not an easy process. I've been through many, I'm sure you've been through a couple. What is that starting point? And we spoke before about sometimes it has to be outside in and other times inside out. So what was the beginning of that journey for you and how did you start to build that strategy?
Yeah, well, we should ask the audience too. Has anyone ever been part of a major rebrand? Yeah, a lot of people. Okay, good. It's definitely not easy. And I've been through many in my career, however, never any that were this fast and this comprehensive. And so, you know, we had to first start the process with that business transformation articulation of what is the strategic vision that we're trying to get to. Because it was going to be futile if we were trying to build a brand and guess where we were going, right? So we had to build a future forward brand, but that strategic vision was critically important, not to just be understood by our leadership, but every employee at ETS. So we did an intensive process of helping to build with our leadership team, helping to build what that strategic vision looked like. Where do we want to be 5 years from now? And then we deployed that throughout the organization to get all employees involved in saying, yes, that's what we want to do to have bigger impact in the world. And then we brought people in to say, okay, so then what is our brand? And it wasn't, let's change the logo, let's change the colors. Of course we did, but it really was, what is the essence, the brand promise that holds our entire portfolio together, and how are we going to articulate that, through brand expression and innovation and everything that we do. So we did a lot of internal stakeholders interviews to understand, is this the places where we should be going? What should we hold on to from a historic standpoint, right? Being 75 years, you can't go in and just change everything. What are the things that we need to change in order to have more impact? We also did an intense competitive audit. And so I was saying earlier how we were in the future of the educational testing arena. And of course we have points of difference there, namely our groundbreaking research. And we are often, if not always, have been stated as setting the standards. Our research sets the standards for the science of measurement. But when we go to a new category like future readiness, there's a whole lot of other players out there, right? And now we have to figure out how do we have a point of difference in that category. So that was a good amount of process to figure those key elements out. And we did employee focus groups, we did some key customer discussions, key stakeholders all around the way. And we did that in a very short amount of time in parallel and in order to iterate, I should say, our creative process. So we launched the brand in April 9th, and I'm laughing because my team is here in the front, and Bill Robertson helped he did relaunch our website, and it was on April 9th, and it'll forever be burned in our memories, I'm sure, right?
Congrats, Bill.
I know,
It was great.
it's amazing. You should check it out. So that's part of the outside in and inside out, I think, efforts to do that. And because we did such intense engagement, I will say that our launch of the brand, we started internally. And we had all of our leaders in a deployment session, and it was incredible. I mean, our whole team floated out of that session because people were enrolled and engaged along the way. And so while the reveal was exciting, it was also, people felt proud because they helped build it. And then we engaged the entire organization to be brand ambassadors. And I think there's just such an immense amount of pride to be the organization that we are and to show up in the world in some new and different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sense of giving people ownership. A brand is not a single person, a brand is not a business, a brand is ultimately, it's the people that work there and are a part of it. So building that sort of coalition and going slow so that you can go fast, such a kind of critical learning there. What's your role, did you meet with any resistance or roadblocks or things that were tricky along the way? And what's your role as a leader in those moments to try and keep that momentum and get this thing over the line?
Well, yeah, there were definitely, I wouldn't say anyone put up roadblocks, but there were definitely challenges to overcome. And in fact, I think if I can see this slide here. I think think I have a slide. So a couple of things were, we had to rally people around some key principles for this launch. You know, I wouldn't say people were engaged in the transformation, so there wasn't a resistance to change, but I think there sometimes is a hesitation of changing too much, right? And so I would say particularly like when we think about our launch plan, I gave my team direction and comforted, I would say, the rest of the organization to be like, we're gonna be practical, but impactful. Like that is the number one thing we're gonna do. And so what does that mean? You know, like, I mean, we wanted to, of course, increase awareness, particularly in these new areas, like a more B2B space. But we also wanted to be able to demonstrate the impact of our brand in new and different ways. So we had to be practical, and it wasn't like, you know, we were going to go do a partnership with Oreo, like we just heard earlier. That wasn't.
Good incentives for learning, though. I thought there could actually be something.
Maybe, yeah. But you know, we had to be impactful, and so that meant bolstering some of the existing external activations that we've historically shown up as, but we were going to show up differently, have a different experience there. And then finally create these internal brand ambassadors, right? And empower people to share that externally as well. So those were some of the launch principles. And I wanted to show you how that showed up. So here's a slide of our social or events or our website. I think our website's up there. I don't have my glasses on. I can't see anything that's up there. I think it's up there, right? No, it's not. Yeah. So, you know, we showed up in the world very academic, right? I mean, that looks very corporate, academic, safe, you know, rational, good, all good things. But what we wanted to do was show up differently in all these spaces, whether it's our website, social, conferences that we're at, thought leadership, etc., and also show up around the world. We're a global brand, we're a global company, and everyone was kind of doing their own thing. And so this consistency, the simplicity, I would say hopefully the modern piece, but also consistency of message and impact that we were trying to share is one example on these areas. Is this the old one or the new one? Yeah, so at events, this is kind of how we looked and showed up in events. You know, your typical booth. And when we rebranded, we showed up in a much more experiential way. We have videos, we have a big video wall, we have demos. We sent new people to the events. We sent our innovators and our product developers out to talk about the new products that we're developing through demos and other ways to generate leads. And then from, we also did an owned event. Now this is something we had never done before. So we did show up. We've kind of convened people in the past, but more about research. And here we convened people in DC. It was a convening about AI and ethical AI and the use of ethical AIs that, you know, we are very passionate about, and we do research to help guide some of those policies, but also about the future of work and the skills that are needed in the future. So we really were bringing together thought leaders across policymakers, other industries, to have a discussion and join us and participate in that. Let's see, sorry. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, and then we had a lot of demos as well there. And then the last thing we did really to drive some awareness, again in new spaces, we created some partnerships. Now this one was with New York Times, and we did that because our audiences and the audiences we wanted to attract and their audiences seemed to match up very well globally. And so, again, we've never done this before, and this had huge impact creatively. We had not only digitally but also in the paper. And then if you look at the bottom, we had an ad unit that was focused on Wordle. Now, right? Like, that's kind of...
Do it every day.
I know, right? And guess what the Wordle word was that we had?
Teach? Wait, is that too many letters? No, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it wasn't, because remember, we're trying to get out of education space into future ready. So it was skills. And that's really the transformation that we're trying to drive again, is more of a skill-based ecosystem to help talent be workforce ready.
Awesome. I think, what this all shows is that rebranding is not a cosmetic act. It is an act of really leaning into a new soul for your business and building on that and living that across every experience and every touch point. One thing that struck me is, obviously, especially now with this new move into new categories, you have so many audiences potentially. You have end consumers, you've got users, you've got governments, you've got educators, you've got skills trainers. So the point of a brand often is to try and get to simplicity. So how did you marry that sense of incredibly complex ecosystem that you live in and trying to get to a simple message for your brand?
Yeah. We had to get to that, and I forgot the last slide up here, but for brand ambassadors too, internally, we had to have our narrative and our story. And if you remember back from the video, the one iconic symbol that we wanted everyone to rally around is this asterisk. And it's a 8-point asterisk. It represents our groundbreaking research, which is often how research is footnoted, right? And we wanted to elevate that, not only for us and our brand, but really elevate that in the world and the industry, because that's what has the impact and the outcomes to drive. So there's so that asterisk is very important. It has a forward slash that's kind of cutting up through it, and that's to remind us that we're all about momentum and human progress and driving forward. And so it stays with ETS, right? We've kind of modernized, and now ETS, we say we're an education and talent solution organization. Again, to kind of keep that simple, all backed by research. And the rest of our portfolio, you may know some of our other assessments like TOEFL, which is the English language proficiency test that a lot of students take, or GRE or Praxis. They all carry the asterisk, and we call it the source. And they all carry that source because they're backed by our groundbreaking research. And that's the essence, that advancing the science of measurement that holds our whole company and our portfolio together.
Amazing. Nice to get to an elegant solution to a place of complexity. So I suppose, what impact have you seen from this? What has been the tangible stuff? How has it enabled you to create that business transformation that you wanted at the beginning of that journey?
Well, it's definitely created a lot of inspiration and a lot of energy and a lot of momentum within our company. And so, I think we are all rallied around our innovation stream and going to new customers in order to make that bigger impact. And then those 3 areas I just talked about of social impact that we want to make, we want to put some commitments against those. And, in 2035, we want to see XYZ happen. and then have some milestones that we go after as a company to reach those. And so I think that will continue to fuel the fire. And I'm sure you're going to ask me what do you want to do next and on the brand, but just because I said fire, that's actually what we're talking about. We're calling this next wave of our brand work Brand Ignite. And we really, we didn't even have to ask for it. People within the organization, even our CEO, who's always a champion of this transformation, is saying, yes, how do we ignite this? What are your plans? And we have such great plans. I mean, this is, phase 2 of continuing the momentum. We're going to have some very fun, deep campaigns, particularly about skills. And we also want to drive more employer brand and take this to the next level and, talk about why this is such a great place to work and how this brand really represents the culture that we have, because we are people too, and we want the same impact of human progress.
I love the way your journey has created a sense of sort of inevitable momentum in it. It's, if our business needs this, therefore we need to shape our vision like this, which means our brand needs to show up like this, which now means to achieve that we have to go out into the world and behave like this, do these things, innovate in this way. So there's a really great kind of sequential, logical journey to where you've been. And finally, I'd love to ask you, what on that journey have you learned for any of us all thinking about rebranding and refocusing our brands? What have you learned? What are those key lessons that you'd share?
Oh my goodness, I've learned so much. I've, one, which I didn't have to relearn, but I was so grateful to be supported by an amazing team. I can't, and I'm lucky to have Stephanie and Bill here sitting in the front, thank you. But, the team, and I wouldn't say it's just the marketing and innovation team that led this, right? We really reached out across the businesses, and we had people join our team to help us deliver this. And I think the power of engaging and enrolling it's a key lesson I learned way back at P&G. That's one of the 5 E, or 2 of the 5 E's. And more than ever, it's so important. So I'd say that's number 1. The second is really to deepen the way you storytell, right? People can't remember all of the elements that your brand is supposed to stand for unless you have a very simple story. And so hopefully the one we just told about the source and what holds us all together is an easy story. People have pride in that at ETS, and so that's incredibly helpful. And then I would say another E would be empower. Empower your team, empower your employees to go out and talk about this, right? Be proud and come up with new ways that we can translate our brand into impact.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like you are on a journey of growth. You are trying to help us all go on journeys of growth and lifelong learning. So we can wrap it there. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed talking to you.